All right, we have number 116. It's St. Lazarre's Station by Claude Monet, and it is oil on canvas. And Claude Monet is known really as one of the first painters of the modern urban cityscape. So, what makes this urban? Well, we see a lot of people on a platform. It appears to be a train station, and of course, the title should be the giveaway that it's a train station. And that is definitely something that is a new topic for the subject matter in regards to art is painting this industrial landscape. And so, one of the things that Claude Monet was interested in is this was a very busy train station that many Parisians, people who live in Paris, used to go to and from different parts of Paris. Paris is a very large city, and by building these train stations very early in the Industrial Revolution, it really will change where people live versus where they work. And so Claude Monet is going to capture that here with Saint Lazare train station. It's not necessarily his most famous piece. I mean, he's definitely more known for his water lilies and impression sunrise clearly, but this one is significant in a different way because it really kind of captures what the impressionists were trying to do in the sphere of the industrial revolution. So what he's trying to do here is capturing a momentary glimpse of a real scene. So he would go to St. Lazare Station, set up his and paint en plein air, which means painting in the open air. And he would, depending on the time of the day, would get the different colors for his canvases. He did do a series of these, six of which he will actually show in one of the impressionist shows that we talked about, or I talked about in the last screencast for historic context. So he was recording the play of light and color and its effect on the eye, rather than really trying to create a physical substance of forms and the spatial volumes they occupy. It dates to a few years before the first Impressionist exhibit, but it will be shown there. Beginning in the 1880s, Claude Monet will begin focusing more intently as he explored more specific outdoor subjects. For example, he did a series on haystacks, poplar trees, and then the facade at Rouen Cathedral is another one that he was very interested in and did a series on. Monet at the time lived in a suburb outside Paris, the center of the city, so he would have taken the train to the center of the city many times. And this idea of the modern phenomenon of regular rail travel was very new. So, wanting to be able to live in the countryside but work in the city, like many of us do, or many of your parents do, is completely new during the Industrial Revolution because now you have options for transportation. You no longer can rely on walking to work. You can live outside of the city center. So, it gives a sense of modern urban life. The way the steam is painted helps make the train seem less industrial and less harsh and less severe. Like it doesn't really look like this huge machine coming at us. It just kind of just fades in like it's about to arrive. What prevails in this piece, though, is the effects of color and light in the train station without really focusing on the train or the people that are shown on the right, especially or even in the background where you see it looks like large buildings. The way the steam is painted helps us like see the composition in a different way. It's in ways similar to a traditional landscape painting. In a landscape painting, especially when we talked about the oxbow, there would be trees that frame the scene. But with this, we have more of the station that frames the scene, and our eyes are kind of drawn back to the train and beyond with the copper railings that are at the top or the train tracks, even though the train tracks aren't a straight line. The The painting is very flat, and that's because the emphasis is on the surface treatment. There's really no sense of lines or modeling on the train. And basically, Monet is trying to remove line from the composition. I mean, I know you see lines, but it's not the focus, it's not the focal point. Khan Academy does some good instruction on it. So this next stuff comes from Khan Academy. But Monet's achievement with this, it's also called the Gare Saint Lazare, which means Saint Lazare Station. And it's the ATL line. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. But it really was singled out among some of the most impressive paintings of early Impressionism because Monet's going to render the steam with a range of blues, pinks, violets, tans, grays, and whites and yellows. And then he depicts not just the steam and the light, which fill the canvas, but also their effect on the site. In the distance, we see apartments. This is supposed to be Pont de l'Europe, or a bridge that overlooked the train station, and many locomotives, all of which sort of peek through and then dematerialize into thick industrial haze. And then against the bright background represents the station's vast iron roof in a copper palette with tan tones, with the swirling blue and gray purple background. The trains here represented there's pretty much three and a large boxcar, and they're shown as both worried that the smoke would completely engulf them, or they're distinct from that. Let's see. The color palette is important because it really captures the essence Impressionists wanted to capture. Impressionists will basically ban the color black because from their perspective, black doesn't necessarily exist in nature, so you shouldn't be outlining in black like other painters had traditionally done. What you see is the blending of colors on the canvas as they're painting. So the smoke has hues of the lavender and the blue, whereas traditionally trained academic painters would have just painted in shades of gray for smoke. And so the blue and the lavender kind of like opens it up and makes it look a lot prettier.